Hello, good morning everybody. As you can see, it's raining quite a bit, so I'm not going to go outside on the bike, but I thought I would go ahead and show you guys my road bike. I bought this bike just over 1 year ago, and so far I've put about 1,100 kilometers on it. It is a Pinarello Galileo made from around 2000 to 2002, the best I can tell. The bike is a rather small frame at 53 centimeters. Let's take a look at what probably stands out the most, which is the front chainring setup. I had a bit of a problem with my front shifter, so I decided to try riding around in just the small chainring, and to my surprise it wasn't that bad. I could actually ride like that. So I decided to go ahead and remove both of my middle and largest chainring and just rely on the front 30-tooth chainring. To do that, I needed to make a couple custom spacers, as you can see right there. And I needed to make a chain guard so that the chain itself wouldn't come off of the chainring, of the 30-tooth chainring. Now you might be thinking, well, there's two main problems you're probably imagining with this setup. Number one is, well, the biggest is how fast can you go with 30 in the front and 11 in the back? It is a limiting factor, I got to admit that, but it's not as bad as you might think. With this setup, I'm able to maintain almost maybe close to 35 kilometers an hour at just around 100 RPM. Now that said, I'm thinking about going with a bigger one in front, maybe a 32 or a 34 if I can find such a, or maybe I'll get a whole new crank set with a more modern bottom bracket. Who knows? But for what it is now, it's actually not that bad. And by the way, because I did change it to a 1x, I went ahead and gutted the shifter internals to save a few grams. Pretty ugly, right? The second thing you may be thinking that's a problem with this setup is the chain line. And again, you're absolutely right. The chain line is not ideal, but that said, I've been riding for about 1 year with it. About 1,000 kilometers I've taken, and I haven't really had any problems. It shifts perfectly. You don't hear any kind of sounds at any of the gears, so it seems to be okay. Going along with the drivetrain, let's take a look at what I have for pedals. That's probably not the most common pedal either. I'm using basically Shimano 520s, clipless mountain bike pedals. These are actually the B-Twin brand. If you've seen any of my other videos, you'll know that I tend to use a lot of B-Twin products, and I simply got these because they were cheaper. Going back on the drivetrain, I'm actually running kind of a mountain bike 9-speed back here. It's 11 to 32. So the cool thing about that is I actually have a bigger chainring in the back here than I do in the front. So I have a 30 in the front and a 32 in the back. That allows me to go up pretty much anything I want. Believe it or not, though, there are still some limitations. Like that, there have been some grades that I can't maintain going up for too long. So I'm actually thinking about going with the 34 in the back. And that brings me to the next thing, the derailleur. Prior to recently, I was actually using the short cage derailleur that came with the bike and was able to make it work with the 32. But I decided if I wanted to go to a bigger chainring in the back, I would need to go ahead and get a mountain bike derailleur. So that's exactly what I did. I bought this one used at a used bike shop we have around here for like, I think 10 Swiss francs or something like that. And for the bottom bracket, it's just a standard tapered bottom bracket that you would find on a lot of bikes at this year. Now let's take a look at the saddle. This is a Specialized saddle which just came with another mountain bike that I had. I don't think there's anything special about it. It's rather large and pretty comfortable. And the reason I have this is because when I bought the bike, it came with this ugly yellow one, and I just couldn't stand the looks of it, so I had this one sitting around, decided to throw it on. Seat post is, I believe, the factory carbon fiber Pinarello seat post, and of course a Pinarello seat post clamp. And by the way, this bike has literally the word Pinarello written about 30 times on it, believe it or not. Mainly the components on this are Tiagra, however you say it, and that goes for the shifters. That goes for the shifters and the cranks, as well as the front and back brake calipers, as well as the hubs. The wheels themselves are Mavic Open Pros. These are not the tires that came with the bike when I bought it. Up front I have these Michelin Pro 3 Race Service Course tires. These are not too expensive. I think I paid $25 a piece for these. These are 25 millimeter wide, And actually, I like them a lot. I do enjoy these tires a lot, much better than the 19s or 18s that the bike had when I bought it. Those I didn't like at all, and they were totally dry rotted. So these were a huge improvement over those. Now, I also bought the same set for the back. However, as you can see, I'm not sporting those. Reason why is because the 25mm wide tire is actually too big for this bike. The main problem I had when I had that same tire from the front on the back is not that it actually hit the frame, but it was kicking up like sand, and that was actually scratching the frame, and I could actually hear it while I was riding. So I ended up going with these Hutchinson Equinox 2 tires. These are 23s. I don't love them as much, and they're already starting to kind of fall apart. I've noticed in several places this like string is coming off. It almost looks like it's cut a little bit. So what I'll probably do is, when I think these are really no good anymore, I'll probably get these same Michelin Pro 3s, except for in 23 size, and put them on the back. For the fork, I believe it was a Pinarello branded carbon fiber fork. Looking up at the handlebars, they have a mutant stem, which I don't think is I don't think that's factory. I think that was added on at some point later, not by me, but somebody else. I do like the look of it. The only problem is, because of its normal shape, you can't really fit any kind of accessories onto that. As far as the handlebar goes, I don't know this brand, Morphe brand. It's a rather narrow handlebar, at only about 42 centimeters wide as I measured it. But I actually like that. I like it a lot. I have one single water bottle cage, as well as my tire pump. After 18 or so years, this paint is looking pretty rough. A lot of the Pinarello decaling is really wearing off. Oh, and by the way, the weight of this bike is just over 9 kilograms with the pedals attached. Overall, I like the bike a lot, and I don't think I'm going to replace it for 2019. I'm going to keep riding this in 2019. I may mess with it. I may change the gears a little bit here and there, but that's just what I like to do. Is if you can't tell, I like to tinker with stuff. Okay, well, that's about all I have to say about this bike. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments, and I'll try to answer them. Have a nice weekend and a Merry Christmas. Bye, everybody.